Right, today I'm in Portsmouth with Daryl Carter. Daryl, thanks very much for agreeing to talk to us here today. So you're a tipster, you're a pundit, I suppose you're an entertainer, you go in the boxes at race courses and sort of talk to people, and you're a punter. So which one do you think of as you?
Probably best describe myself as a full-time tipster or a professional tipster, if you like. The punting and tipping, they complement each other. They both make up a proportion of the income for the month. What probably couldn't do one without the other. But at the moment I'm in a stage where I suppose I'm building a foundation going forward. And who knows what the future holds. Hopefully the punting will be able to sustain itself on its own in the near future. And vice versa. But ultimately describe myself as a professional tipster. That is my main income.
Okay, and you've got to this point with the well-trodden route of being a scaffolder for 12 years. It's not everybody that's been a scaffolder for 12 years and then gets into the racing game full time. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, scaffolding for 12 years. Fully qualified scaffolder. Enjoyed it for a while, and then it really went the other way, and I just felt I had to get out there. I didn't think there was any more for me doing that type of job. I'd run jobs, I'd done lots of different types of work. It wasn't really sparking my interest anymore. I didn't really enjoy mixing with the type of... For example, I was a scaffolder for 12 years. There's not one person in my phone book that I would call from scaffolding, in all honesty. Just felt myself, I suppose, mixing with the type of people that I didn't... And not everybody, but I didn't want to fall into that crowd, especially given how I was younger, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I knew there was something more for me. It wasn't just scaffolding. I was quite a quick learner at scaffolding when I was out scaffolding. But I just got to the point where I needed something else, and I didn't think that I could sustain scaffolding going through the later years of my life. And ultimately, the point where I'd had to leave scaffolding and go and do something else was going to happen sooner or later anyway. So and I took these steps into horse racing.
Now, you just, one was talking beforehand, you described yourself to me as a tearaway, but then when you went on to be a bit more detailed, that was a bit of an understatement, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, as all the kids are when they're younger, those years 16 through to 20, 21, I guess, especially around this area, I suppose, I gave my parents a nightmare. I was I suppose out fighting every single week. I don't proclaim to be a tough guy, but that's just the way it was. Causing all sorts of hassle, getting in trouble with the police, that type of thing. I caused my parents a lot of ag. Looking back now, and I'm probably even more grateful for my parents because we went through that together at a younger age. Just me being a pain in the ass, really. But yeah, I was a tearaway, and things weren't going down the right road. They definitely weren't going down the right road.
Well, they nearly went down a really bad road, didn't they?
Well, yeah, they did. A witness failed to turn up to court for example, in one scenario, and thankfully, I was given another chance to go a different way. That was the last time I'd ever appear in court, but that didn't look great.
And that paled into insignificance to the other thing that happened to you.
Yeah, being stabbed. Yeah, so I was stabbed twice in one sitting, if you like. That's enough to really, try and turn things around. I was basically out for the night out, and it actually wasn't my fault. I wasn't, involved in any sort of fight or anything. I was actually protecting someone from being hit from behind with a brick. And as I grabbed their hand, the guy tried to attack me with it. We ended up getting into a bit of a scuffle. We happened to be straight outside of his house. He went back into his house and got a knife out and came back out and started swinging it at me. We again got into a bit of a fight. He leapt up and stabbed me once in the stomach and then stabbed me again straight down the arm. So I've lost half of my bicep through that. Lots of blood, as you can imagine. The last thing I sort of remember is being laid on the floor and rushed to hospital. And then I was on a bed about to be taken into theatre for emergency surgery, and my parents were told to say goodbye to me at that time. And it was at a time when I had been a right little git, really, for a long time, and I kind of felt, thinking about it now, it's probably the first time I've really thought about it since then, that it was a sign to say, this has got to stop, or this is what's going to happen, and looking at your parents' faces when they're looking over the bed at you, when they're saying goodbye to you. It's what you've put them through that is the most difficult thing to deal with, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a life-changing moment, that's for sure. But thankfully I got through it. The guy didn't go to prison or nothing. Nothing really come of it on his end. But it was definitely a moment in your life where you go, that you can't do that to people.
So were you interested in racing and betting before this happened, or did you suddenly find a focus?
No, I found a focus. Really. I basically threw myself into scaffolding, but scaffolding became a lot more difficult when you lose a part of your bicep, and it took a good couple of years to really try and rehabilitate that arm. I mean, like in the winter, for example, like my fingers will go numb. And it's difficult to lift anything from that side, so that arm is not as strong as that arm. But yeah, I was looking for a focus on the side, so that was probably leading to me thinking, am I going to be able to do this for the rest of my life, scaffolding? So I needed a focus, and horse racing gave me that focus. As cynical as it sounds, I know it sounds a little bit over dramatic, but it really was a bad time, to be honest, in my life. And thankfully for horse racing, it's given me a focus on the side, and I've just worked harder and harder and harder to try and put myself in a better position, I guess.
Well, that is sort of where the difference lies, isn't it? Because a lot of people that found a focus betting, that would have even driven them even further down the road, wouldn't it?
Well,
so
yeah.
So you did it. You got inquiring into how form works and.
Well, yeah, basically we would go to the bookies. I'd still go out to the bookies every Saturday with my friends. Before we'd go out for a few drinks, we'd always go to the bookies, put the football accumulators on, have a couple of bets on the horse, and we'd do that on a regular basis. And you would see the same sort of horses pop up on the screen, and you would think, well, I would always think, well, he beat him last week, so he must beat him this week, and he was a favourite. And then you'd see that result would come in, and it'd be reversed around the other way. And all of a sudden, it just lets your mind start ticking and start thinking, well, why has that happened? And I'm quite inquisitive. I'm more inclined to ask questions why something's happened. Like even in racing now, so I'd want to know why a horse ran poorly last time, as opposed to why it will run better this time. And just going off that was enough to spark my interest. So I wanted to have a deeper look, and I want to look myself. I love teaching myself, which is, I know it's silly when there's lots of advice and stuff out there, but I do think finding things out for yourself and what works and what doesn't work is a way, ultimately to success, really. Yeah,
so rather than going out pissing it up every night, you were digging your head into the form book for burning the midnight oil, basically. So.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'd get in from scaffolding at about 5 o'clock, and from then I would have dinner, and then I would be in this office or on my laptop or computer, wherever I was at the time, until 11, 12 o'clock at night, just trying to build my knowledge whilst I'm still at work. And then it just sort of leads to the point where you sort of feel, I'm enjoying this loads more, and I don't really want to. It feels like your day job's almost getting in the way of what you actually really want to do, and that's kind of when you learn that's exactly what I want to do. That's what I love to do. So that's slowly my passion to turn into horse racing.
And were you betting while you were learning?
Yeah, but only very small stakes. 5s, 10s, 15 quid, something like that, on horses and stuff. But I think you need to. I do think you need to have a bet for it to lose. You always learn from a loss. So I think if you're not going to lose anything by making a decision, then you're not really going to learn. Does that make sense? So I think that helped me betting small stakes, but betting on my own opinion and finding out where I'm going wrong and what's going on, and seeing how much money I'm losing or how much money I'm making. I think it's a big part of learning is having something to lose.
Okay, so was there like a eureka moment where you realise, hang on, I got this, I'm getting a few quid out of this? Was there like a bet or a time when you suddenly thought, yeah, this could actually work for me?
Not really, if I'm being honest. It wasn't. It was more that I felt I was building up a knowledge, and it was more that I would come and I would speak to someone on a racecourse or something, and then I would be able to have a conversation with someone about racing. Whereas before, I wouldn't really be able to hold a conversation with someone about horses, about form, about ground, about track trip. anything like that. I wasn't able to hold a conversation, and I was always nervous talking to people. It was only when I started realising, hold on, I've just had a 15-minute conversation with this guy about why I think this horse would win, and I didn't sound like an absolute idiot. That was sort of more of a confidence booster rather than any sort of like winning money or a bet at the time.
Okay, now you told me that you were earning 36 grand a year as a scaffolder. That's not bad wages. So you've turned all that in, speculatively, to try and edge your way into an industry which is notoriously difficult for an outsider to get into, even as a tipster. So was there like an overlap when you started to earn a few quid before taking the plunge?
Yeah, there was an overlap. I was earning. There would be days where I'd be scaffolding, and I would come back from my lunch break at 1:30, and they would be asking me, for example, to stay on till 5 or 6. But I'd already earned my day's money. I'd had a horse run at 1 o'clock at Utopster or whatever, and I'd already earned my day's money. And it was just that that was happening more and more frequently, and I was getting less and less enthusiastic about my day job. Now, I wasn't stupid and just thinking I'm just going to throw it all in and go and do it, you know. I had to get a bank behind me. I had to do it the right way, you know. And when you're building up to the point where you're going to do it the right way, those months that you're working full time are just, they're horrible. It gets worse. But yeah, I was earning a couple of quid while I was doing it, and that ultimately that's what forced me to leave scaffolding, really.
Yeah, so why did you decide to become a tipster and do press work rather than just trying to concentrate on betting solely?
I don't know. I suppose I wasn't confident enough to think that I'd make a living full time just through betting. I've also got a partner, a dog, a house, you know, a car. I've got things to pay for, and it's easier to not convince, but have the discussion with your partner to say that, look, I'm going to leave this really well-paid job. Essentially, we're not going to have that money coming in if you've got some sort of income to replace it, you know. And the tipping side of it obviously wasn't doing that at the beginning, but it is now. And I enjoy doing it. I enjoy having an opinion, a strong opinion against people, and I enjoy watching other people win. So that side of it, like, there was never a point where I gave somebody a winning tip and it won and they were ecstatic that I didn't enjoy, and that was just the road I wanted to go down. I will look to, you know, hopefully be able to sustain the punting on its own 2 legs down the line, but there's no rush for that. I've got hopefully a long future in this game, and at the moment it's all about building the foundation, knowing what works, what doesn't work, and in terms of the punting, knowing, you know, how much of a loss I can take before I go mentally insane, or, you know, and things like that. So yeah,